I'm just trying to make something that like I enjoy, and then hopefully others enjoy it. I think that's always been, no matter what you're doing creatively.
Hey Goopy, you're now tuned into Buddy Time. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the world of film criticism, award shows, and the journey of bringing a film festival to life, unpacking the passion, challenges, and insights behind it all with our guest speaker, Justus Demarest. Ready to turbocharge your day with us? Let's begin our voyage! Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Buddy Time. Today we have a special guest who brings a unique perspective to the world of film. He's a young film reviewer and a filmmaker all the way from New York, and he's now co-producing the LUMINA Community Film Festival right here in Bangkok as well. Whether he's analyzing storytelling technique, exploring cinematic trends, or supporting independent filmmakers, his passion for film shines through. We're so excited to dive into the art of film reviewing, the mindset behind critiquing movies, and what goes into curating a film festival. Justus, welcome to Buddy Time. We're so happy to have you here. So why don't you start by telling us a bit about your journey?
Hi, Sin and Sony. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Justus, and I am a young filmmaker and film reviewer. And I recently graduated from American University in Washington, D.C., where I studied both film and Spanish. And now I am, like Sin said, I'm very passionate about film, and I am excited to keep getting more and more involved into the film world as I develop in my career.
Hi, Justus. It's nice to have you here. I love it. I love that you use the word passion, like passionate and passionate. We're all about this in this platform here at Buddy Time, right? I'm wondering, since you talk about passion into film, when and where do you recall yourself, remembering how you got into, this interest of film?
Well, for my whole life, I've always just loved watching movies and TV shows. Like my dad, he and I used to go to the movies to see all the new Marvel movies, and it was one of our favorite activities. And then even as a family, watching a show. So that's where it's always been a prominent thing in my life. And then, so for me, when I started going to college, I was in engineering actually my first 2 years. I have a associate's degree in science, but I really wasn't enjoying it. I just didn't like doing it. And so I eventually realized that I wasn't happy, and I had this part of me that really loves Spanish and Latin culture as well. So I'm I want to do something with Spanish, and it was COVID at the time too. So I was sort of locked into what I could or couldn't do. And I found this program at American University that allowed me to study a language and a media form, and one of the forms was film. And I just sort of realized I've always loved watching movies so much. This sort of seems perfect. I don't know if I'll be successful, but it seems like something I'm gonna love doing. And so I sort of just went for it. And so that's where it started, and then it just sort of kept developing from there.
I feel like I can relate so much to your story, because I also happen to have a degree in marketing. I say it with I'm quite proud of that, but going through that whole thing, it's not really something that I love doing. But then I love a lot more of the entertainment fields. I love film a lot more, and there's just some unknown force about it that makes me really gravitate towards it, and I feel like it takes so much bravery in someone to be able to, just like yourself, to figure that out and identify those feelings, and then go for something that, like you said, you don't know the ending of it. You don't know if it's going to take you somewhere. Is there a career in that? Is there money in that? But because you love it, you went in to do that. And I think that that's very special, to have that sort of bravery. But again, I wanted to just touch upon the whole concept of like film watching, right? Because you did talk about like you love watching film with your father, and it's like a family like tradition almost, right? Like you go to the cinemas to watch it together. But what was your journey like when you went into studying film? Because to me there is a lot of layers in film. One thing that us as audiences, when we go to cinemas and we watch films, is that we digest film and we consume film in a way of a audience would do. However, when it comes to film, there is so much more like the production side of things. There is directing, there is designing, there is producing, there's all these things. And yes, we are, as Sin has mentioned in the opening of this episode as well, we're all on this journey together, and that's how we met each other, is through co-producing this festival together, the Lumina Festival together. So first, what are your thoughts on like the program that you went through? Did they also touch upon the production side of things? And if it doesn't, and now that we are going into like, you know, doing a film festival together, and I know that you also create film, how did you get into the production side of things?
Yeah, so my program at American University was largely like general film production. So they touched on a lot of different things, from like using a camera to film history, and then just sort of a whole realm of like the basic filmmaker knowledge. So you sort of get a taste of everything. And so from there, like, I feel like it was like a full 2-year journey of figuring out which aspects I was more drawn to, like, and I've learned like I don't really like the technical stuff, like I don't mind like doing sound, but that's not my favorite. I definitely am not interested in like being a gaffer and like working with the lights, but like I really like the creative aspects of it. So like directing, writing, even producing, sort of fun too. Movies we would watch, like they were international movies, like things you haven't heard of, like movies I had never heard of, to things I have, like Get Out. So that really started to broaden my perspective of what film is, and how it can be more encompassing of just giving the people an entertaining movie, and the more importance of film and all like the possibilities, like if you combine something that's culturally significant with like a really engaging story, like the possibilities of that and the power of that. So I think that's where a lot of my film passion developed from, was honestly that class.
You mentioned about like your class, right? Sort of like also gave you more knowledge, more understanding of film and film production, and even reviewing a film, because then you are able to sort of like understand what this film is like, or have your own critique of certain film. So I'm wondering, how do you approach reviewing a film? Like, is there a particular way or process for like a film reviewer? Do you follow a specific process? I'm just wondering, like, because for example, Oscar Awards, like there will be a lot of film critics, film reviewer who voted to certain outstanding films. So from an audience perspective, I would wonder, yeah, I know that these panelists, they are definitely some of those experts in the industry, but do they all follow the same set of reviewing process? This is my curiosity. Yeah.
Well, in terms of like award show reviewers and judges, like to my knowledge, I don't even know if film critics are actually allowed to judge. I know it's usually industry, like people who have just worked in the industry, and that's to my knowledge. So for them, I mean, I guess you can't really say like what their process is, like depending on what they like. Like I'm not quite sure, to be quite honest, but I think for me, when I like approach reviewing a movie, I've always felt like there's two sides of it. There's like, because there's movies out there that like when I was younger, I was always like curious, like why are these movies rated so high, but then like you go to see them and they're slow and they're boring, and I didn't understand it.
That's not personal, right?
No. But so I guess and then eventually I did I started to understand all the aspects of why like some movies are rated so highly, but like the general audience doesn't like them. And so when I go to like approach a movie, I try to take both into consideration. Like how much are people going to enjoy it versus like how good each aspect of the film is. And I try to make that more apparent in what I write more than like my numeric rating per se. And I guess for me, the way I've come upon developing like how I rate a movie is just from like it all actually started when I took that class that I told you about. I started writing down all the movies because I'm like, we're watching like so many movies. I've never heard of these. Like I got to keep track. So I started like writing them down and like just like a little general information. And it within like a year, it developed into a whole spreadsheet where I've written down like every movie organized by year that I've ever seen. And then like just some general information like director, the year, the country, and then I eventually started like giving them ratings too. From there, I started writing like blurbs about it. And then I'm like, if I'm going to write about it, I may as well like put it out somewhere. So
what's so interesting about, reviewing something is that it's all opinions, right? Like everybody has their own opinion. And I think circling back to what Sin has asked as well, which I'm also curious in, is like, what is the process? And you, in your story just now that you've mentioned, you said that when you were younger, you went to watch films that were high in rating, but it's kind of boring. But then you realize later on, after perhaps your class that you took, that, or just through experience, that suddenly a lot of things clicked. Like you understand a bit more why the ratings are the way it is. Can you explain to us and the listeners a little bit more of your process here? Like I'm curious to know, like, what are these things that you figured out that you've realized that, oh, this is what is taken into consideration?
Yeah, so I feel like I have an interesting take on this because as you just said, like reviews are all opinions. And of course, like art is always subjective. But I feel one thing I learned from watching movies, and then there are like certain, like if you look at like movies that are well rated for whatever reason, there's like whether you like them and all of that is subjective, and how well you think it is can be subjective, but there are common qualities that each film has that when also the process of filmmaking or like even script writing, like you can tell like, oh, like more work or more love and attention has gone into this, obviously, to develop what you get on screen. And so there is like noticeable differentiating level of quality aspects. And obviously like I'm young, I'm definitely not like perfect. I don't know so much about everything, but story doesn't work, why it's not working, or if a shot looks more pleasing or striking, why is it looking more pleasing and striking? And it's usually because there's been obvious like thought into maybe the geometry or the symmetry of what's being shown or the lighting, versus like maybe like a general TV show might just have like a plain like put a figure like in a medium like close up and just have them walk through like a hospital or something like that. So anyway, I guess that's somewhat of my thought process.
I'm also starting to have like, oh, this clicks because recently I got offered an opportunity to study film production. It's a really intense course and I'm already halfway through it. So actually hearing your process, for example, you mentioned that you after what you've learned from the class, you would also start thinking about, how they write the script, even consider some of the should I call it like skill, like the way that they shoot their film, right? To me, it makes sense because it actually also depends on the target audience, right? This is what I learned from the class. So the teacher taught us that to create a film, we also need to be very sure and very clear on who we're creating this film for. So it's again back to like, it's a very marketing thing, like who are you creating this for? Who's your target audience? Because like you shared earlier that some film could be really boring to a certain group of people, whereas to certain group of people, they're like, wow, I love it. And to me, that is really normal because the film is created for a specific group. So it's not wrong that some people are happy about it and some are not. By me understanding, this kind of knowledge behind film production, it will help me understand, okay, if today I need to review a film, from what perspective should I review this film? If I am from a perspective of, let's say, a filmmaker, maybe my focus would be more on the way that this film is being, let's say, created in the skill set, for example, cinematography, sound, light, the way they directed, this kind of more skillful stuff. But if I am reviewing from the perspective of, let's say, a pure business investor, maybe all I care about is, will my audience be happy about it? Just like you said, right? Some people could be very happy about a film. So if I am from the perspective of a film investor, I don't know anything about how you create a film. But all I care is if the audience would be happy about it, because it involves in, return, right? People are happy about the movie, they will spread the word and have more people watch the movie. So it is really depend on different perspective. In my opinion, it depends on different perspective of how someone wants to review a film. So to me, it's hard to have a objective way of viewing. It's more so where are you coming from, right? Do you agree with this?
Somewhat. I actually, well, because I think that's actually the problem with a lot of, at least Hollywood films now, is that they're being produced by business makers, or Jeff Bezos is like trying to be a producer, of course. I think actually it's a little bit different. Like, I feel like reviewing a film would be separate from like how your perspective is, like, because like, yes, as a businessman, like, I'm going to look in and like say like, oh, what are all the aspects of like what's going to give me like the highest like revenue film and like please the most general audience. And so that's going to be your perspective. And like, of course you can look at it and be like, wow, like what's a big film? I don't know, like Deadpool and Wolverine made a ton of money. Like, it's a great film because of that. And from like the money making perspective, of course it's great. Like, they made a ton of money, like, and it's a fun film. Like, it definitely pleased the masses. But then I guess yeah, it really depends on perspective. But I think when I write a review, I'm trying to also explain like why a film might, like, why am I giving The Brutalist a 9 out of 10 and Wicked a 7 out of 10 or a 7.5? Because I know it's a touchy subject around here. But like, no. But like, because like from a business perspective, like you're not gonna get like 50 million people go out and watch The Brutalist, but you're gonna get like 50 million people maybe to watch Wicked. And so from those perspectives, they're different. But then also from it's like, even because of like a film like Blockbuster has all this business perspective behind it, like more of like these indie artistic films, like, because they're not backed by like businessmen or something, they have like the ability to be creative and to operate at like the highest quality possible and to create all these original stories that like other films can't. I don't really know if that answers the question.
I'm very curious about this whole thing, so I wanted to learn a little bit more about your thoughts into it. So in terms of like, because we did touch upon how the art of reviewing is an art form and it is subjective. People's opinions are subject to opinions, right? Like, and my curiosity in here is that have you ever disagreed on people's reviews, and how do you go about with that? Like, do you ever because generally when people look into film, let's say IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, those are all like an average, right? I'm assuming it's an average from like different critics or reviewers. They make reviews and then it like accumulates into a specific number. And to you, when you see these numbers, does that affect you in any way, like with your opinions? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Not completely. I feel like in terms of like the review sites like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, like they both, like they work in like separate ways. Like obviously IMDb is just like a pure like audience like what's it being rated. So sometimes like I like to look at that just to see like what are the people thinking, like, and it's fun to like read through the reviews and see why people give it like a movie a 2 out of 10 versus like some that just give like everything a 10 out of 10, and it's just like you can.
Have you ever seen a 10 out of 10 movie? I've never seen a movie that got 10 out of 10. Like at most like a 9. Like,
on IMDb? No, on IMDb I think the highest is Shawshank Redemption, and it has like a 9.2. But like, you know, like the users can write reviews and stuff, and so that's sometimes fun to read through. But
so do you feel like there is a right or wrong in like reviewing like being a reviewer then?
Again, it depends how you're writing. Like if you're reviewing movies from like a business perspective, then they have like their own realm. But like if you're maybe reviewing it from like an artistic side of things, or like how high the quality is compared to other films, like for maybe an award show theoretically, and then you want to produce, or you want to like write your review to most explain like maybe why there's like exceptional quality in like the writing or the cinematography, or why there's not. So I guess because to circle back, the way I try to review the films is that I try to sort of like explain like why this movie is maybe rated higher than something that like a mass audience would like. And like, because like in a filmmaking perspective, like because the awards are rewarding the aspects of filmmaking and stuff like that, trying to explain why like each aspect of filmmaking within a movie is at a different level than others, and vice versa, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, with a background in film production or understanding the filmmaking process would actually have influence in reviewing a film, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think if you're going to approach reviewing a film from like why it might be winning awards or something like that, or like what's award worthy, then I think it's definitely helpful. I mean that's the reason why like all the judges for the movies are like filmmakers and not like random people, because there's just like the level of understanding. Like, I mean, I wouldn't try to like go evaluate how well like a business is functioning, because I have no idea what those good signs are. Does that sort of make sense?
Then because you're also a filmmaker yourself, at the same time you are also a film reviewer, how do you see yourself in these two roles? Because the role of a film reviewer is you watch a lot of film and then you have your own opinion and comment, the so-called critics, right? I am assuming that would actually also influence the way you want to create a film, right? So do you think that by being a film reviewer would actually affect the way you create your film?
Yeah, that 100%, especially for me personally, because, and this is where I think like what you like to see in a movie like comes into play, because like I'm someone that likes more of like to watch a movie that sort of wows me with like its writing or something like that, or an original story. But I do feel like so for me, I know what I like to see like in a film, like personally, like shots with like good geometry, symmetry, like where it's obvious that they've taken time to like really set up their shots and stuff like that. Like even when I'm watching the film, that will be one of the most enjoyable parts. I'll be like, wow, like that's such a cool shot. So like when I, like for example, the short film that I'm working on, like as I'm writing the script, I'm almost writing the script thinking about what shots am I going to be able to get with the locations I have available to me, like in Bangkok. So definitely, because I feel like I know what I like to see. So, and that's sort of the type of film that I want to create, the type of film that I like, obviously. And then it just depends what your goals are. Like if your goal is to make a film that will get a bunch of views, like I would probably go about it differently or something. But I'm just trying to make something that like I enjoy, and then hopefully others enjoy it. I think that's always been no matter what you're doing creatively. Whatever you're doing creatively, I always try to think that's like the baseline. Just make something that you want to make.
Then would you, I'm just curious, right? Because what I'm hearing is this two roles, they're affecting each other in a positive way for sure, because by being a film review, you get to study a lot of how other people create their film, and then you can take inspiration from all of that and turn that into your own creation as well. Then my question would be, where do you find your inspiration? Is it mainly from, I saw a lot of cool stuff or interesting techniques from all of the other films that makes me wow? So when I write my own script or create my own film, I want to implement those as well. It becomes like the inspiration comes from all of the films that I've watched before. So there's no right or wrong, right, in terms of how we get inspiration. But what I'm describing is this could be one way for filmmakers to find inspiration to create their own short film or whatsoever. But what about yours? Do you find yourself constantly getting inspiration from this kind of process or method, or do you actually have another set of ways to find inspiration to what you want to create?
That's a really wonderful question, actually. So for my inspiration, I feel like so for something even like the reviews, like I'm not paid to like write my reviews on my like Instagram account or whatever. But like, I mean, one day if someone wanted, like if I had an opportunity to write reviews, like I would be interested in that. But I just sort of do that because I enjoy doing it, and like I've gotten positive feedback, and that feedback also feels like good. It feels like, oh, you're writing something that people sort of take interest in or enjoy or like get a break from their day doing. And so then similarly with like my process towards what I want to create on the film level, I think there's a lot of things. Like obviously like you watch a film and you say, oh, like that scene is great. Like I want elements of that from in my film. And even like as I'm like literally last night I was working on the script, I had like a page where I'm like, okay, this dinner scene, like what am I thinking visually? I'm thinking of the opening scene from The Social Network and the opening scene from Triangle of Sadness, and like that's visually how I want it to look, and even some of the beats. But so I think obviously, yeah, on like a micro and macro level, like other films you see is like huge for inspiration. But then it's also, your inspiration is very personal, right? Like the things that have happened to me growing up or as a kid, like family influences, like just interactions I've had throughout my life, like have shaped like what I want to do in the world and what I want to create for the world, like over the course of my life. Like I feel like you have like this sort of vision for like what you could do in your heart of hearts. And so I think that's like my biggest inspiration, and all of the other things that I write about or watch are just like more micro levels of trying to create that.
Since we're on the topic of, being creative now, and I consider this like a creative talk, I'm wondering, just to start off with a very simple question.
How simple? Every time you say simple, it's not simple enough.
It's super simple.
Okay.
What genre of films do you gravitate to?
To watch or to create?
Let's start with to watch, because we're talking about how the things that you consume and also the things that you learn in your life and experiences get you to your creations, right? So let's start with genres of what you watch. Like, what do you gravitate towards?
So obviously, like as I mentioned, like a big part of me always watches like most of the big like blockbuster Marvel. Like I love Star Wars. I've always been a big Star Wars fan, and that's just sort of like something I was raised with. So like those are always in my blood. But then in terms of like other things that I really gravitate towards international films for a few reasons. One, I enjoy even like on a very almost primal level, like hearing different languages is something really pleasing to me. But then there's like such a different way of filmmaking and with international films, and it's something much more like original, raw, and organic. And so those are usually the films that I gravitate towards. But then also like, I mean, I like thrillers and like, I don't know, just, yeah, like dark films as well. So yeah.
I find it so fascinating that I cannot help smiling, but it's so funny when you said that something about foreign films is so pleasing to you. And all I can imagine in my head is just like you, like, or like anybody staring at the screen. And it's just like, I don't understand what they're saying, but this is so good. You know, like, it's so funny to me. I love that. Like, I appreciate people who appreciate foreign films because I, for one, am quite lazy when it comes to reading subtitles. So that to me is one of my, like, a reason that is enough for me to sometimes not want to watch a film, because I'm just like, I'm so like, I want to see what's happening, but then while something important like all the details that I want to see that's happening, I need to be reading subtitles, and I could miss that. And that's a very big thing for me, that like whenever someone's like, hey, there's a film coming out and it's in this particular, like it's in Korean, for example, and I'm just like, okay, I'll think about it, because it's like that. And so it's so lovely to hear that you love, you know, you gravitate towards, and that makes, there's something pleasing about, you know, watching foreign films. So let's I'm wondering, in the realms of like reviewing films and watching films as well and picking films, how do you end up picking the films that you review? Or do you just review any films that you watch? And also, do you also watch films or want to review about films even though you know that the films are not as well received?
Yeah, so I think it's a bit of a mix. I mean, because it's not like I have thousands of people like reading what I write, unfortunately. Like, I do try to provide like throughout the year like sort of relevance to what's going on. So like what movies are coming out. Like usually at the beginning of each month, I'll like put out like a little poll, like which movie are you looking forward to? And sometimes I'll like take that into consideration, like, oh, I should see this. But I usually just watch like what I want to watch. But like for now, like obviously it's like Oscar season sort of right now, so I've been trying to like watch like most of the films, because I to be honest, like it's not like there's a lot of people out there that will go every week to like the movie theater, and like I wish that was me, but it's also not. So like some of these movies that I've been waiting to come out on streaming or to find them somewhere online, like I guess it's almost like I feel like it's like crunch time in terms of my like film reviewing hobby, I guess, because I'm trying to like get those films in. But then yeah, throughout the year, it's either like a combination of like what I happen to watch on my own interest, as well as like, oh, this like big movie's coming out, like I'm gonna go, I want to see it, one, for myself, but then two, like I can write a review on it, and like people are gonna be most interested in it now. Like,
you pick a film and then you're definitely going to watch it and review it, but then halfway through the film you're like, man, this is so boring, I'm falling asleep. What would be your decision? Would you still continue, okay, I still have to finish the film because I just want to review it? Or would you just be like, I'm not going to watch this anymore because it's not good enough for me to review?
Let me jokishly answer that for him, just jokishly. He'll review half of the film.
Very smart.
No, I feel like more than most people, I'm pretty good about finishing a film, unless my caveat is like if someone picks the film, like if I'm like with a friend and they're like, oh, let's watch this, and we don't finish it and I didn't have much interest in it, that's when I like won't always gravitate towards finishing it. But like if I start something myself, I will almost always finish it and somehow, and then I don't write movies on every single movie or film that I watch.
You just keep it in your spreadsheet but not review it. You're just like, I'll just put it there.
No, literally, because sometimes like if it's a movie from 10 years ago that like has no relevance to like, I don't know, sort of like the world right now, like I'm like, what am I going to put out there, like a review of the movie that just came out or a movie from like 10 years ago?
I mean, there could be vintage readers.
No, well, that's true, and I do try to like do that, but it's just not, it's a little more rare, and it also depends on like the time of year. Like I haven't seen a single movie yet from 2025, 2 months into the year.
Like, have you reviewed Star Wars movies yet? Have you done that yet, since it's something that you love?
I've reviewed some of the shows, but I haven't, like, because I'm watching the shows as they come out. But no, I haven't reviewed the movies yet, but I also haven't fully watched one of the Star Wars movies in like the last year since I've been doing the film account.
Why not?
Well, actually, that's a question I ask myself. Literally yesterday, I saw like a reel about Revenge of the Sith, and I was like, man, it's been so long since I've watched Anakin. I'm like, what's going on?
Hey, Anakin, what's going on?
I know.
So back to our conversation on how the films that you gravitate towards, right, and how that affects you creatively. Do you have, like, from the top of your head, or do you have a favorite film?
Oh, yes. This is a great question. And obviously it's so, everyone I feel like says it's a hard question, but I do have some favorites that I definitely always refer to. And my first one will be Another Round, which is a film from Denmark starring Mads Mikkelsen. If you haven't seen it, it's great. It's about like 4 professors who experiment with drinking every day during work, because like a philosopher once, I forget who it was, but a philosopher like did a study where like if you have like a glass of wine like throughout the day, like it actually increases productivity. Anyway, so like a film like that, like that's one of my favorite films. Like it has a phenomenal ending in my opinion.
What genre was it? Or
it's like maybe drama. I don't really always know how to describe some of these films. I would probably just like a drama, but I mean, it's quirky. It's also comedic. So yeah, Another Round, another Denmark film, The Hunt, is superb. The Banshees of Inisherin, I love that one. And then like classic ones though, like the first Avengers is like I just remember seeing that in 2012 as a kid, and it was like so momentous in like my childhood. And like the OG Star Wars, of course. So there's really like, I mean, I could go on for a long time. Like Get Out, I could say so much about why Get Out was a lot better than I think even some of the reviews give it.
Yeah, Get Out is pretty good. Like I enjoyed Get Out as well. Are you a reader by any chance? Like, I'm wondering because you are Marvel's fan. Do you read the comics?
I read. Well, in terms of reading, I don't read as much as I like. Sometimes I like go through phases where I read like 5 pages of a night of a book, but it hasn't happened lately. I do actually. My father had a huge collection of Marvel comics, and so I've been reading some of like the original like Amazing Spider-Man comic books, like, and those are pretty cool. Like, to read, like, it just like the feeling of reading like something vintage is like it's sort of extraordinary.
Yeah, and speaking of Spider-Man, the multiverse like ones, or the animated ones, are amazing. Like, so good. Like, what the heck? Like, I had the lowest of low expectations. I didn't hear anything. I didn't think, like, in general, I didn't hear anything about like the Spider-Verse, or I don't remember the name of the movie when it first came out, and not a lot of people were talking about it. But then when I went to watch it, it was life-changing. Like, it was so life-changing. I was I was quite blown away by how amazing it was, and I can't really describe how like what it just made me feel things. And like, I was surprised. Like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm surprised how at that time not a lot of people were talking about it, you know, like, and why was that a thing? Like, as in, like, why wasn't people talking about it? And till today I still think about it sometimes, like, why don't people talk about these sort of things enough? And you know, when it's a regular, like, what do you call it, like, you know, Tom Holland, like, real Marvel Spider-Man movie come out, like real life movie come out, you hear a lot of people talk about it. It's like, let's go Marvels. But then when that one came out, at least in Thailand at that time, not a lot of people were talking about it. But I went to see it because my brother is a big Spider-Man's fan. He's a DC guy, but he loves Spider-Man just from Marvels. That's it. And then we went to watch it, and it was, my God, like it's crazy. And like, I think the second one was also really good. And yeah, I'm just surprised.
Yeah, no, it's also like a big thing between like animation and like live action things. So like actually, I never saw the first Spider-Verse movie until last year, before the second one. I was like, I should watch the first one. And I was like, how have I not like heard, like, I know like there's like a group of people that love this, but I like had no idea it was so big or so awesome. And like, so one interesting perspective I actually have for this is, so last year in DC, I worked in a school for 4 or 5, maybe actually 6 months. And so, but one thing, like the kids, like, and it was sort of around the time when the second Spider-Verse movie was coming out, but like the kids, like they love the Spider-Verse movies. Like the Spider-Verse movies versus like the Tom Holland Spider-Man, to them, like, were way bigger. So I think like, you know, like the lasting impacts will be interesting to see of like which, like how much, because I feel like for kids, I feel like from my personal experience, like they seem like they really gravitate towards even the animated ones more. But then animation in general, just because this is something I want to talk about real quick, is like I love watching animated shows. Like I almost watch more, whether sometimes anime, but usually like just like animated shows, like, and I don't understand why there's not more. Like, because I feel like people get to like an age and they're like, oh, like you're watching cartoons or like adult cartoons, but like some of these animated shows are like just as good, or like if not better than most of the live action shows. I think it's interesting that a lot of people seem to, like, animation just doesn't get a huge appreciation, but I feel like there's definitely, it should sometimes.
Hearing this, it really goes into what Sin has brought up earlier about like the business side of things. From what I know myself, at least right now, is that perhaps animated films and all the like shows take a lot more budget, I'm assuming, because of like, you know, computerized, you need to know how to graphic and digital like movements and all these things, I assume, in comparison to, let's say, shooting a very basic drama where you just need actors and place some lights and having that all in place and just shooting it. And of course, I'm just saying it in the most basic of ways of creating it, right? So, but I totally agree with what you say about like animation. I think it's so underrated that it is really, the genre itself really bends creativity. You can really showcase things that you can't really show with real life. And recently we both went to watch Flow together, right? Which was an award-winning like piece, and that was very interesting to me of how like animation was used to like portray a world that isn't what we can normally typically show if we were to do it in a real life situation. That would have taken a lot of like probably like CGI or a lot of other things, right? So yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree with about the animation stuff, that it's so underrated and should be watched more, and we should not stigmatize the concept of like cartoons are for kids.
I think personally, like another factor that could be the reason for why pure animation are not as talked about compared to like real life actor is probably because, I'm just talking about like the general public, right? People are more interested in a celebrity. They're more interested in a face, in a real life human being. So let's say Spider-Man, where we were talking about Spider-Man. Why are people talking about Spider-Man that Tom Holland was in it? Because he is the anchor for all of this noise, right? So, and it's back to the whole business marketing thing. And even for some of the animation film, they kind of want to choose a celebrity to do the voiceover to, so that it adds more noise, right, to, and also adds more publicity, I guess, to the whole animation where there is no real life actor too. So I guess that could be one of the reasons too why, you know, yeah, like pure animation, they definitely have a lot of creativity in it that some of the real life movie couldn't portray. But then in another way, when we talk about general public, people just prefer somebody that they know of, like they're familiar of. and then it will make them have that kind of attachment or association easily. That's my opinion.
With that said, then, Justus, do you have a particular like creator's work that you would always watch, or if you know that they're in it, whether that's an actor or a director or a producer?
For directors, like maybe a little more so, like Bong Joon-ho. Like I think like he's like one director. I mean, everyone feels like a lot of film people like always want to see his stuff, but like he's like someone like where I always just sort of want to see what he makes. When I was younger, I used to love Hugh Jackman, where it was like if Hugh Jackman was in a movie, I like just wanted to go see him, whether it was like Wolverine or something else. Now, not so much though. Only the one actor who like I definitely like I always want to see whatever he's in is Mads Mikkelsen, who like he's Danish, but like whether it's a Danish film or just he's acting in like a Hollywood film, like I always like I think he's really good. And I don't know, so like obviously like celebrities do, they have such a pull, like because for some weird reason like us as like viewers, like we gravitate towards like a singular actor for some reason, or like a look or something. And so, and that's weird, because going back to like the animation point, like then all of a sudden these animated movies are trying to like have these famous actors do the voiceovers, and it's also sort of a little annoying, because then it's like you have like these like why is Chris Hemsworth Optimus Prime in like the last Transformers movie? But like I mean it's not like anything about the job he did. Like he did a great job, like it was fine, but it's also just like it's because they're trying to like get people to go watch it, but it's also like it's just an interesting dynamic with like the celebrity pull and its place, I think, in big films.
Then I'm wondering, because we talk about our journey, right? From since we're young, you got into film because you started watching movie with your dad, and then the whole journey to you starting to study about film production and then becoming like a film reviewer. So and still you would have genres that you love. So have your taste in genre shift throughout your whole journey? Because personally, when I reflected my journey, like growing up, my shift in film genres definitely shift quite a lot. Like for example, back then I would just be like a typical, should I say typical? No offense to all the general public. I am still a very typical, but I'm somebody who just loves watching films, right? What I'm trying to say is, general public, we enjoy commercial films, right? It's easy to digest. Like, for example, Marvel. I'm a Marvel fan too. I love watching Marvel. Like films like that, it's entertaining. Like when we want to find some leisure activity that doesn't have to take a lot of our brain work. Yeah, like going to the cinema, watch a production with a lot of CGI, that's great. And you get to see handsome and pretty faces. Why not, right? To kill time. Yeah. So I used to really enjoy this type of genre, right? But then later on, when as I grow older and as my friend group also started to sort of like more diverse, especially getting to know more friends who are in the industry and also who are really interested into watching, let's say, independent film, art film, with their influence and recommendation, I started to watch some of these art film or independent film as well. Honestly, when I first started watching those, I'm like, I don't get it. Like I would be one of those people that you said in the beginning that I got bored. Like throughout halfway of the movie, I got bored about an art film. I don't understand it. But then as I grow older, and then when time passed with more experience in so many things, especially life, then when I watched the same film again, I got so many out of it that made me realize that, wow, like this kind of film is so meaningful. It is the message is so unique, and it reflects a lot about real life, like the reality of the things. And that's what got me into drama. If we talk about genre, drama, art film, independent film. So that's how my shift in genre changed. Is that correct, right? But what about yours? Because you definitely would have more influence, I guess, because again, you watch a lot more films because you review films as well.
No, yeah, I mean it's pretty similar for me too. Like, I mean, obviously, like, I mean, I grew up always watching like films just for like entertainment, and like you want to see something like someone who looks good or something like cool or like a fun story. And like for me, like I've always thought I've had a very big imagination. Like I like watching things that have nothing to do with like this world, like so like sci-fi or stuff like that, like, and I just like new ideas and concepts. But then yeah, as I've gotten older, especially when I started to study like more language and culture as well as film, like for me personally, I've realized like, I mean, and like film is one of my passions, but like other cultures and other like languages, like I have a very big passion, like I don't know if I call it passion, but like a very big interest in trying to understand like different groups of people, whether it's diasporas or just like the general population of another country. So I think that's, and then it went hand in hand like with sort of watching films from other places. So I think that's why like for me, I really like to watch film, like international films now, even though they're not the most entertaining thing, but they're usually of good quality, like high quality, as well as like they give me like almost like a cultural dose as well as like an entertainment value.
I'm wondering, do you watch award shows?
Usually no. I mean, it's not that like I would actually like when I was growing up, like I would usually watch it like if it was on, and now like, I mean, I don't, like in the US, I don't have like cable television, so it's sort of what's available on the like Hulu, because that's usually the only thing that live streams anything. But like something like the Oscars, I will try to watch because like, again, like, I mean, I don't think like the Oscars don't usually like, I don't think their picks are like from God or anything like that. But like the Oscar, like for the like the Oscars is like the big one in the US, so it's like fun to sort of make predictions and see how you do. Like last year I got half of them right, so like obviously this year I'd like to do better than that.
So you do like prediction games with yourself, like this is gonna win, this is gonna win.
Yeah, like as I've been watching the Oscar films, in my spreadsheet I've been like ranking in every category the films I've seen.
Do you actually watch I don't know the name of it, is it called the SAG Awards?
I've never seen the SAG Awards. I don't know what they show on.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised because I'm like, I like watching award shows for the reason that Sin said, which is like I want to see who's there. You know what I mean? Like the result for me is like interesting. Like I'm a person who is quite open for discussion. Like I like to hear what people think about each decision that's been made, what the Academy thinks. But
and the speeches too.
And all that. But yeah, like not a big award person, but watch it just to see who's in it, right? And I only recently, I knew that it's around, but I only recently came to be more receptive of this award show because we are producing our own festival as well. So like the SAG Award, I don't know what it's like short for, but it's something to do with actors. So my question to you actually is, what are your thoughts on this award show? Because like this award, or not the show, but like the award itself, or should I just say award show? Because I'm trying to, how I'll explain what I'm thinking, which is they created this, and the tagline that I've heard about this particular award show is that they created this to celebrate actors. So I'm thinking, so in the future, are we going to have each category and they're all going to break out into their own award shows? You know, like a show that only celebrates directors, and a show that is celebrating producers and designers and editors and like all these shows. Because right now, in my own like limited knowledge, I only know of like Oscars, right? That has everything in general, and also now the SAG Awards, which is specifically just for actors. So I'm like, okay, like, what are your thoughts?
It's tricky because it's like they're all like a little different. Like the Golden Globes, like I don't know if you've heard of those. Yeah. So like those happen pretty early in the year, but then they like for their films they do TV and movies, but then for their films they like split them up between like best drama and best musical and comedy, and sometimes like the ones in the musical and comedy are like very dramatic, so it's like sort of like it's a weird like setup, frankly, like sometimes, but then like I don't believe they have like technical awards for like best sound or best cinematography.
So the Oscar takes their place for that. And then they're not celebrated enough in the acting part, so the SAG Awards came.
Well, no, so the thing about the SAG Awards is the SAG-AFTRA is the actors union in the United States. So like that's why like the SAG exists, because like it's a union award to my knowledge. Again, I'm no expert, but like SAG is like the union for actors, so that's why it's like all their awards are more geared towards actors. And then like another big one is the BAFTA, which is like the British Film Awards, but then they always have like their own like a very British perspective on the films too, and like what gets nominated and awarded. Anyway, but I think the thing about the Oscars, at least in the United States, like, I mean, because growing up for me, like the big one was always like the Oscars for films. Like that's the one, like even in school, like people would talk about it like the next day, like who won best film. And like growing up, or like high school, like no one's seen the best films that win usually. But sometimes they have like La La Land or something, or because the Oscars I think is the oldest one. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's like the oldest award show as well. Like it's just been like, almost 100 years.
Yeah, I can confirm that too. Like internationally, a lot of countries look up to Oscars as well. Like I think Taiwan has a film like a festival, like award show as well. And they also took from like the Oscars, like basically the way that they host it. They just like copied the layout of it and then created something on their own. So Oscars is very internationally also acclaimed, right?
Yeah, and they award most aspects of film, like the technical aspects, in addition to like acting and stuff. So I think also they're probably the most well-rounded of the award shows in terms of what they're awarding.
Mm-hmm. I think hearing from different awards, whether or not it's award show or a film festival, to me it's really just about the purpose of why the producers are producing these kind of festival or award. Because I can also just use our Lumina Community Film Festival as an example, right? Like the whole purpose of why we're creating this film festival is with the purpose to support, to celebrate young filmmakers especially, and to give them a stage to shine, to give them a place to experience how it's like, be able to see your creative idea being reviewed or being screened or being talked about. I think it really depends on what the purpose is for creating any show, I believe. So, and I would also just like to take this opportunity to also talk a little bit about our Lumina Community Film Festival. So you definitely have a lot of experience in reviewing film. And what makes you want to be part of producing this film festival in Thailand, especially? It's a new place for you.
Well, there's so many little parts to that. Because I think for like, at least for me as like a filmmaker, and sort of on a macro level of like what I want to do is like whether it's film related or another type of thing I'm creating, is I like a few years ago I realized whatever I do, I want to create something that people can go and enjoy, because I love music and I love film, and I feel a lot when I like listen to music and film, and so I want to provide that feeling to others. So that's like my macro level of like what I want to do in life. And then so with Lumina, I mean, obviously like one, there's like the aspect where obviously I wanted to go to Thailand. Like I never got to study abroad, like, or I never did. I shouldn't say I never got to. It was, I never did. And I I just obviously like travel. Like I definitely want to take like my 20s to have international experiences, and then with the festival is perfect too, because like even if I wasn't here, like this is something I would still be really interested in like helping out with, because it's on one level it's really hard for like I think young filmmakers to find platforms for themselves, and even among festivals it's tricky, especially like in the United States. Like if you go on like a Film Freeway and like if you submit like your student film to like a festival that isn't run by like a college, like you, I don't know, your hopes are just very slim sort of having any real benefit from it. So but and then also like it's an opportunity like to create something. Like this is like the first year of a festival. Like obviously not everything is going to go perfect, but there's like it's just like it's exciting. Like I mean we get to pick sort of like the categories that we want to include and see how it goes, and then we have like we can try to uphold like a level of quality that will hopefully like build like if the festival continues like over years. And it's just cool. It's a very wonderful way, I think, to bring people together that are like-minded and like filmmaking, that are young, because they all want to meet people. They all want to see what others have created and figure out how to work together. And especially like on an international level, that's one of the great things about film is like it's very international, like even like Hollywood productions. So it's cool.
So first of all, it's been like so far, it's already been such a pleasure like working with you on Lumina, and it's so nice to have someone who is more well versed in understanding film and how to review a film, because we need this to be able to have a festival, because the core concept of festivals are that people will submit their films, right, and have it be recognized in ways. And how do we recognize this if we don't have someone who can do that? So having you with us has been the biggest of like the biggest of advantages and pleasure that we've got to meet and work with each other. Especially, I'm a big believer of purpose, like the core purpose of what we work towards. And hearing your explanation on why you want to be a part of the festival and your own motivations of the bigger picture for yourself is something that also really motivates me in working in a project. And it's so lovely to just work with great people and really creative people, like that's what powers me. Nothing else really besides money, but but
I wanted to quickly say it's been an absolute pleasure, like just working with you guys, but just even getting to know you guys, like the fact that we went and saw Flow, or you and I went to Chinatown and walked around, like that's like, I mean, like the festival's like the festival, and like obviously we're working hard for that, but like you guys are what's important,
Thank you. A point that you brought up as well about international like atmosphere, that is so important to me, and that's like the core of what I want to also create within this festival, is the whole concept of why we wanted to push for the name Community Film Festival, and having that word of community in there is because we want to foster this idea of a community. And us in our own, currently this first year of producer groups, we're all very diverse from different backgrounds, from different experiences, and all these amazing things. And we're working with so many people and being connected to so many people in the industry and also in different communities as well. And we're trying to bring people together. That is why we decided that it's so important that the word community is there, because to us, we want people to feel like this festival is approachable, and it's approachable by all and not just a particular place. Even though right now we're focused in Bangkok, in Thailand, we're creating this first time. It is nerve-wracking for sure, but more than nerve-wracking, I'm so excited to be producing this with so many amazing people and seeing what we can create out of it, and creating this like nurturing ground for people who want to come and have fun together, you know, and not take themselves too seriously. And that's the whole point of this community film festival. So yeah.
For me, because we are creating this film festival in Thailand, right? But because the way we're creating it definitely have a lot of the international element in it. But in a way, we also want to be able to open this opportunity to the local community, to the local film student, to the local filmmaker. But as we know, cultures are different. But with a festival itself, a festival event, especially if it's geared towards supporting the community, in my opinion, it is a great way to actually for us to do cultural exchange, for us to have two groups of people from, you know, internationally or from local to combine and to exchange how they come up with ideas, how they produce a film, like what are some of the unique way that the Thai filmmakers do, and how does, you know, international filmmakers produce their film. Because again, like with my knowledge, the local film community, especially the younger ones, they look up to a lot of the international film festival and awards. It makes sense because, like, for example, Oscar Award, like Cannes Film Festival, Venice Film Festival, these are big festivals that like the whole world look up to. And of course, a country in like Thailand, like people from the local here would also look up to big festival events like this. But at the same time, if we're able to have a really, really supportive community creating a festival that will support the people from here, helping everyone who have a dream, who have an inspiration, who have an idea to just build their own identity here and then spread around the world. I think that's such an amazing thing. So to me, it's also such a pleasure to be able to use an event like this to meet so many great people, like to create another amazing project with Sony, with you, with all of the other amazing people that we've invited to be part of this festival too. And it is just to me, it's just a great opportunity for everyone to just connect with each other. And then who knows what would happen, like maybe another creative project could happen during the process, right? So it is a really meaningful thing, at least to me. So I really hope that, you know, with this kind of great, amazing opportunities, like more people can have the chance to showcase themselves, whether or not they're from the international place or if they're local community. Everyone deserves a stage, yeah.
Yeah, and then, I mean, and at the same time looking inward, like one thing I've learned from being here for a month now is that, like, I mean, Bangkok has quite a developing film scene as well, like, especially like in the US, there's like, I don't know, it's more negative where like it's super hard to get into. LA literally like partially is burning and then it's sort of difficult. But then like you look to all these other places, like coming here, like people are doing a lot of things and you can actually access like film projects here and without it be the dauntingness of it being absolutely impossible. So whether it's sort of helping like young Thai filmmakers realize like they are in an exciting spot for film, or even international people like, oh, like there's some stuff going on in Bangkok, like that's also, I mean, that's been something I've learned, and I think that's a really important thing for this festival as well.
I'm a very hopeful person, so I'm excited to see where this festival can go as well. And with that, I want to thank you for your time, for being here. And it's not just being here, but flying to Thailand to do this amazing project with us. And you know, that to me, coming back to the first thing I said in the podcast as well about, like, you know, how brave you are just to be able to go into, you know, what you've studied, and then now, you know, just coming to Thailand and experiencing this. I feel like that takes a lot of bravery and courage to be able to do. Definitely not something that everybody can do, because for me, it probably take a lot of, thought and like consideration. But for you to want to do this with us and trust us in the process, I really value that. And I want to thank you for all of this, Justus. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you guys. I mean, I couldn't have done it without you guys. And I couldn't even have the thought of coming here was a lot easier knowing I was having two people like on a professional and friendship level ready to accept me. So I really appreciate you guys having me on. But no, it's been awesome. And it's just been great working with you guys. I'm super happy to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, it's Sin here, the producer of Lumina. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Buddy Time. We hope Justus' insights on film reviewing, award shows, and the journey of producing Lumina have given you a fresh perspective on the power of cinema and storytelling. Well, film is more than just entertainment. It's a reflection of our culture, our values, and the stories that shape us. So if you're interested in attending LUMINA Community Film Festival in Bangkok, which is coming up in May 17th, 2025, feel free to DM us directly on Instagram, MeGoodyTH, to reserve your seat. We would love to celebrate creativity with you. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.